Politics in America has always been dramatic, but sometimes it feels like we're watching a season finale of a reality show, except the stakes are dangerously real. The latest chapter. Donald Trump has officially revoked Kamala Harris's Secret Service protection. Yes, you heard that right. Imagine being a former Vice President of the United States, preparing for a major book tour, stepping back into the public spotlight, and then being told your bodyguards are going home. It sounds like the plot twist of a political thriller, but it's happening right now. Let's rewind. By law, former presidents receive lifetime protection from the Secret Service. Former vice presidents? Not so lucky. They're entitled to just 6 months of coverage after leaving office. Kamala Harris hit that deadline on July 21 of last year. But before leaving the White House, President Joe Biden quietly signed a directive extending her protection for another year. It wasn't a headline, it wasn't public knowledge, just a behind-the-scenes decision meant to keep her safe. And for good reason. Harris has always faced unique security challenges as the first woman, the first black woman, and the first South Asian American to serve as vice president. The threats were real and well documented. Fast forward to now. Trump, in a memo to the Secretary of Homeland Security, ordered that extra protection to be discontinued as of September 1. The language was blunt: discontinue any security-related procedures beyond what the law requires. Effective immediately, Kamala Harris is no longer guarded by federal agents. And let's be clear, this wasn't the result of a new threat review or updated intelligence. The Secret Service didn't request it. According to officials, the order came directly from the White House. No debate. No warnings. Just a decision handed down from the top. The fallout has been immediate. Harris is about to embark on a high-profile multi-city book tour for her memoir 107 Days, recounting her short-lived presidential campaign. A book tour means crowded events, signings, rallies, and endless photo opportunities, all situations that naturally carry risks. Normally, a dozen or more Secret Service agents would be coordinating every detail, analyzing threats, and keeping her within a secure bubble. Now, that bubble has been popped. And while private security is an option, we're talking millions of dollars annually to recreate the same level of protection. That's a heavy price tag, even for someone in Harris's position. Critics are calling the move reckless, even vindictive. California Governor Gavin Newsom didn't hold back, saying the safety of public officials should never be left to erratic, impulsive political decisions. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass went further, calling it an act of revenge, another example in what she described as a pattern of political retaliation. Both vowed to coordinate with local agencies to ensure Harris has some form of protection, but let's be real, LAPD officers are not the Secret Service. And while Harris herself stayed above the fray, her senior advisor released a carefully worded statement thanking the Secret Service for their professionalism and dedication. Notice what wasn't said. No mention of Trump. No direct criticism. Just quiet gratitude, delivered with the kind of restraint you'd expect from someone who knows the cameras are always rolling. But underneath the politics, the stakes are serious. Secret Service protection isn't just about men in dark suits and sunglasses standing near a car. It's an entire infrastructure. Threat intelligence teams scour the internet, monitor chatter on social media, analyze texts, emails, and keep tabs on credible dangers. They coordinate with local law enforcement, sweep event venues, and prepare escape routes for every scenario. When that disappears, so does an enormous safety net. And Harris's Los Angeles home, which had been guarded 24/7, now loses its federal shield. The timing couldn't be worse. With her book set to release on September 23, Harris is moving back into the public eye in a big way. Crowds will gather. Cameras will follow. Controversies will resurface. And all of it will happen without the same level of protection she's had for years. Add to that the fact that threats against women and people of color in politics often carry uniquely hostile undertones, and you begin to understand why her aides are worried. Some argue this was simply a legal correction. Harris had already exceeded the 6 months provided by law. Biden's extension wasn't public, wasn't permanent, and could always be reversed. Trump, as president, had the authority to do just that. On paper, It's within the rules. But context matters. Coming from Trump, a man who has faced 2 assassination attempts during his own campaigns, the decision feels less like housekeeping and more like score settling. And that's what fuels the outrage. Let's be honest. Political revenge isn't new in Washington. We've seen firings, revoked clearances, retaliatory investigations, the list goes on. But cutting off a former vice president's protection right before a nationwide tour? That's a new level of bold. It's the kind of decision that plays out less like sound governance and more like primetime television. And in today's media ecosystem, maybe that's the point. So where does this leave Harris? She'll likely rely on a mix of private security and local law enforcement, with state officials stepping in to fill some gaps. But the reality is, her safety has now become a political issue. Every appearance she makes, every stop on her tour, will carry the shadow of this decision. Her team has lost not only the bodies on the ground but the intelligence network that kept her one step ahead of potential threats. And that gap cannot be easily filled. This story forces us to ask deeper questions. Should Secret Service protection really be subject to political whims? If Harris's coverage can be revoked by one signature, what precedent does that set for future leaders? Do we want a system where personal grudges dictate national security resources? And what does it say about the climate of American politics when even basic safety becomes a partisan battlefield? Because let's not sugarcoat it, public service in America is already dangerous. Threats are constant. Emotions run high. And when leaders become symbols, they often become targets too. Removing protection at a moment like this is more than just a line in a budget, it's a gamble with real consequences. And while Harris prepares to step back onto the stage to tell her story, she now does so without the same shield that once surrounded her. The spotlight will be bright. The crowds will be loud. And somewhere, in the background, the debate will continue about whether this decision was fair, legal, or simply petty. So now the question comes to you. Was this the right move? Should Harris have expected that extra layer of protection to end eventually, and simply prepare to stand on her own? Or was this a reckless act of political revenge that puts her at unnecessary risk? In a world where politics and personal safety collide, the answer isn't simple. But your perspective matters.